Today's the big Fed day. What does it mean for the silver price and the gold price? You might be wondering, what can we expect as we move throughout the day? I will give you my thoughts and we'll touch on the long-term situation as well. We got a ton to cover, guys. Let's dig in right away. We've been seeing, I don't know if you've noticed this, especially with silver, over the last 48 hours, when I was checking last night, some rather extreme moves in silver. Silver had actually moved by a full $1 per ounce when I checked last night compared to just 48 hours earlier. Remember, big extreme moves, and that's a 5% move. That's, to me, that's relatively extreme. Usually precede larger moves in the future. Will that move be to the upside? Will that move be to the downside? Unfortunately, you want to know, I want to know. Neither of us know for sure. However, I can say this. Today, we should see a big move one way or the other in the silver price and gold price. Now, it's all going to come down to the Fed. Let's talk about what to expect from the Fed. I think later today, we could, on the downside, see $1,940 gold. On the upside, potential, and that's what we're excited about. We know that's what's going to happen eventually. The gold price could rise above $2,000 and stay there for good. Aren't we ready for that? It's a psychological number, right? Gold. We're more silver people, generally speaking. I know I follow gold. I own a lot of gold mining stocks, but we're really into silver. But gold gets the headlines. Gold is like the big brother. Although there's a lot more people that are really into silver, nonetheless, silver will follow gold, and that psychological barrier of $2,000 has been breached. We need to breach it for good. Come on, golden warriors. Let's make it happen. But let's talk about the Fed and what we can expect today, okay? Let me just give you a couple. We're gonna look at the mainstream media briefly, okay? There's virtually no chance that the Fed is going to raise rates, okay? And then there's an interesting tidbit. There's someone actually, what do you think it would mean if the Fed actually lowered rates? And we're going to talk about that in a second, okay? What investors will watch, that's you and me, we're investors, instead are the signals that come from Chair Jerome Powell and the rest of the Federal Open Market Committee about where they're leaning in the future. Okay, the Federal Reserve's meeting will most likely conclude Wednesday with the central bank doing a whole lot of nothing. It's going to be a nothing burger. Again, everybody's going to be hanging on their words, how they communicate things. We could see big moves in the silver and gold price, okay? Be prepared, all right? Big moves up and big moves down. Thank you, Mr. Shovel 1968. Thank you again for the super chat, my friend. Very generous of you. That's what's coming. Investors will be watching signals that come from Jerome, and where they're leaning. There's no likelihood that the Fed will do anything here. There's like a 0% chance is what they're saying. There's more than a 0% chance. I had heard a couple people who I respect say that they thought there was a chance that we could get an interest rate rise. That would shock the market. That would send reverberations through the gold and silver market. That would send reverberations down here in the basement. I would reverberate. That would not be a good thing. Again, the long-term thesis for gold and silver remain in place, and that's almost a 0% chance is what they're telling us. We'll see how it happens, okay? This says here, my sense is that Powell is going to want to be very measured and careful about sounding too hawkish. He's managed to thread the needle here, and they're not threading the needle. What's another way that we could say it? Skating on thin ice. Remember that Pink Floyd song? If you should find yourself skating on the thin ice of life. Powell knows he's skating on thin ice. Did you notice? You ever wonder, like when you watch him talk, especially a month ago, the last time he did a press conference, to me, he seemed nervous and like he was a little kid that was telling fibs. Because he was, right? Because that's actually what's going on right now. All right, so we've got that going on. Let's get back here because this was very interesting. I want to read this to you. about what's going on this morning in the markets. It says the Dow Jones futures had dropped this morning, waiting for Jerome Powell. Did you hear the employment news that we got this morning? ADP's employment report showed the U.S. economy added just 113,000 jobs in October, well below estimates of 150,000 jobs. And that was up from September's $89,000 rise. But remember, September then was the month when they said they gained 336,000 jobs when they put the official employment report out. So ADP is telling us, and to me, ADP is a little more real data. ADP is the world's biggest payroll processing company. They process paychecks for millions and millions and millions of people, thousands of big companies in the United States and around the world. So they have access to the real data, and their numbers came in lower than expected. Are we starting to see the cracks? I said, and I'm out on the limb, baby. I'm out on the edge of the limb, but I said that third quarter 4.9% BS GDP growth number, that rang the bell at the top for the U.S. economy. We know what's going to happen when the economy slows down. Okay, this is Basement Dweller 101. And also, I need to say thank you, all you basement dwellers, over 250 of you. We are growing in numbers. When you're here in the basement, well, you can consider yourself, if you like, you have free will, a basement dweller. We hang out together. We love to talk about silver and gold. Please come back. Please give this a thumbs up. I will ring the bell here when we get to 100 thumbs up. Don't you worry, but let's get back to the Fed and talk about what the Fed is doing today. The CME, that's the Chicago Mercantile Exchange, FedWatch survey on Tuesday, this is interesting, guys, showed zero chance of any rate hike when the Fed concludes its two-day meeting on Wednesday. 0% chance. That's the betting. That's the big sophisticated financial people. So we got a 0% chance. In fact, this pay attention. The survey of Fed funds interest rate speculators went so far as to show a 3% probability that the central bank will trim short-term rates. That would be cut rates. This shocks me. Currently, in a 5.25 to 5.5% target range by a quarter point. So the betting, the Chicago Mercantile Exchange people, right? These are the people that are putting their money on the line regarding where the rates are going. They're saying there's a 0% chance of a rate increase and actually a 3% chance of a rate cut. Now, 3% is about 1 in 33, so we're not going to bank on anything. But let me just say that if the Fed cuts rates this afternoon, which no one's even really thinking of that, so it's interesting. Thank you, Daniel, for the super chat. Daniel, a loyal basement dweller, that Daniel, my friend up in Canada, who I'm going to go fishing with someday. Anyway, the fact that we have the bettors, the big money, saying there's a 3% chance of a rate cut, that I was like, what? So who knows, guys, right? It could be big party. I tell you what, if the Fed cuts rates, I'll do a late night live stream tonight because I got to go to work tonight. But anyway, when I get home, I'll do a late night live stream. That would be absolutely crazy. But is the Fed going to have to cut rates? They're going to have to do something, either in real or nominal terms, to deal with the fact that we are in an untenable situation in this country. I was talking to Bald Guy Money this morning about the debt, $700 billion in the next 3 months, and then another $800 billion after that, $1.5 trillion. And you know what I told him? Well, no, I didn't tell him this, but I'm going to tell you this again because it's my favorite thing in the world right now. $1.5 trillion is like a million. Think about $1.5 million. If you had $1.5 million, okay, 1.5 trillion is that $1.5 million, 1,000,000 times over, multiplied by 1 million. It's $1 million, 1.5 million. It's absolutely crazy. I forgot about the bell. Here, basement dwellers, thank you. We already have 135 thumbs up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. All right. If we get a rate cut, it's going to be crazy town. You're going to hear me saying, yeah, the biggest, loudest yeah in the world. Kind of like when Susie tells me it's time to put up the Halloween decorations or the Christmas decorations, and I sigh like, ugh. It's the sigh heard around the world. We could hear it could be crazy. We're not going to spend any more time on that because it's not likely. I'm not predicting it, but it is a possibility. Thank you, Shadow Work, for the super chat. Very much appreciated. Let's talk about gold here for a second. I thought this was an interesting quote. If anything held gold down, though, it's the perception of a strong dollar. Fed pausing, Fed hawkish today, possibly 1 in 33.33% chance that the Fed could cut rates, which still blows my mind, means the dollar goes down in value. And right now, it's been the perception of a strong dollar that's been killing silver price and gold price, okay? He says, I say perception, quote unquote, because the dollar's purchasing power will always deteriorate over time. It's only, quote unquote, strong compared to other world currencies that are deteriorating even faster. We've talked about this ad nauseum. Yeah, sure. What? Thanks for all your hard work. Wow. I'm overwhelmed by all the super chats, but that's an awesome. Thank you, CWL, PFOC. We've talked about this ad nauseum, how, yeah, sure. And I love the way he said it so simply. Does that make sense to you? Right? Like, yeah, sure, the dollar's strong, right? Right? But the reality is it's losing value over time, like all the other fiat, unicorn, fart dust, paper currencies, right? They're all losing money over time. So you're just comparing a bunch of losers. That's like, if you're a baseball fan, that's like comparing the worst 3 teams in Major League Baseball to each other. Well, sure, one of them's the strongest, but they all got losing records. Man, thank you guys for all the support you've given Ron's Basement. It's much appreciated. We are going to have a website coming soon, ronsbasement.com. Don't forget about that. We're trying to get a tagline for the forum where you'll be able to go 24 hours a day. Keep sending your ideas. The one I heard today that kind of popped in my mind was Dweller Den. Like we could call the chat room the Dweller, like the Basement Dweller Den or the Dweller Den. I don't know. Susie's kind of spearheading all that. Anyway, let's move on. You're not here to talk about that. Okay? Massive, massive debt, like we talked about earlier. Okay, another big news story this morning. The Treasury Department put out information about how much debt they're going to have to raise. Listen to this. It's absolutely crazy. The Treasury Department announced plans on Wednesday to accelerate the size of its auctions as it looks to handle its heavy debt load. And with financing costs rising. Heavy debt load? I think that's an understatement. 33 trillion? I would call that an enormous debt load, an elephant debt load, right? Absolutely. Okay. And financing costs going up. Yeah, you could say that. Interest rates are like 4 times higher now than they were 2 years ago. Yeah, they're in trouble. In a development this is where it's getting very interesting, for lack of a better word. I use that word too much. Susie often reminds me of that, but nonetheless, this is where it gets interesting because Wall Street is starting to pay attention. Oh, Wall Street's starting to do a little math. They must have changed the batteries in their calculators in realizing that the system can't go on. Ray Dalio's told us that. Stanley Druckenmiller ripped into Janet Yellen. Everybody's waking up. The world's waking up. It's not working. It says, in a development getting close attention on Wall Street. Excuse me. Sorry, I should have muted the microphone there. I apologize. The department detailed its refunding plans and future debt sales. The announcement comes with Treasury yields around their highest levels since only 2007. Which, remember what happened in 2007? There was a little financial crisis that erupted. Think about this, guys. Let this sink in. A reflection of financial markets spooked. It's the day after Halloween. We can say spooked. Financial markets are spooked over how much damage higher borrowing cost could exact. on the United States, on you, on me. People are waking up. It can't go on. We are seeing a confluence of factors right now. Debt levels in the United States, geopolitical turmoil, war, okay? On top of that, bifurcation from economic, monetary, and fiscal systems, right? The BRICS and the BRICS Plus. Don't forget. Do you think old Ronnie here can remember the 6 countries that are joining BRICS on January 1st, right? You got Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa, but now you got 6 more countries joining them, and we're going to talk about the uber importance of what's going on with Saudi Arabia right now, because it's big, okay? But joining the BRICS countries, you have Saudi Arabia, the United Arab Emirates, Iran, Argentina, Ethiopia, and Egypt, if I have that correct. All this is happening at one time. I don't want to be a doomer gloomer. We're not all, but what do you think? What do you think this means for the value of silver and gold? The value of the dollar, right? There's such a relationship between the value, I can't even use that word, value. The dollar, what's it based on? Nothing, right? The value of the dollar and the price of silver and gold. Today is going to be an interesting day. I am really, really looking forward to seeing what they do. We always watch what they do, okay? And remember, 0% chance of interest rate rise. So watch what they do and then listen to what they say. But remember, they're dealing with a whole different set of data, right? They want you to think, I mean, can you believe people actually think the Fed pays attention to the official numbers from the Bureau? No, they know the real story. They know what's going on underneath the hood. We haven't talked about the banking sector. The banking sector still, just so you know, don't worry, the banks are still in big trouble. The 10-year bond yield is still high. That is super stress being placed on the banks because of their bond portfolios. And as they roll out through the next couple of years and have to deal with the commercial real estate bomb they have heading down the tracks at them, it's not a good situation, not a good time to be a big bank in the United States. Things are not getting better. This was interesting. I want to show you a very interesting picture. Have you ever been to the website, the U.S. Debt Clock? I'm sure a lot of you have. If not, when you're done here, go check out the U.S. Debt Clock. It has all the data about the debt in the United States, and it runs all the time, so you can watch how much more you're getting indebted on a moment-by-moment basis. But this is very interesting. One of the viewers emailed me this picture. There's a secret door that you can go into on the debt clock. I'll let you research that on your own. But today, on the secret door, it shows stolen wealth. Here's a little picture, okay? Since we went off the gold standard, that shows can you see that? Hold on. I'm working on it. Bear with me. Well, what that shows is productivity gains that have gone up, if you see that. And at the same time, real wages compensation have basically remained the same. That since we went off the gold standard in the United States, right, productivity's gone through the roof. Great job, America. But the value of the money, right, the currency, the paper money that you're getting has basically remained the same. All right, guys, hold on here. We got a lot more to talk about. Bear with me. Technical difficulties. Hopefully you can hear me right now. Okay? Please give me a 5x5 if you can hear me. Because remember how we talked about earlier, the world is changing. There's a big deal. We're going to talk briefly about something that you need to understand if you are invested in silver and gold. This is critical. I know some of these subjects can be a little heady, right? But if you have any of your money in silver and gold, this is good news for you, but you need to understand the petrodollar. What is the petrodollar and what went on right now, just this month, that is so significant and is going to have such ramifications on the global economy, on the value of the US dollar and on the value of the silver and gold. The petrodollar is falling apart. We're going to go through a brief history lesson. In 1971, like we just talked about, Nixon temporarily took the United States off the gold standard. At that point, the dollar was based on nothing. In 1974, when I was just a 4-year-old little chap, Henry Kissinger headed to Saudi Arabia and, let's just say, persuaded the Saudis that it would be a good idea that from then and until the future, excuse me, they only sell oil in US dollars. All the other Persian Gulf countries followed suit. The world, it established something called the petrodollar, which meant that the dollar was now essentially backed by oil. But here's where it gets interesting. Since all the oil in the world, and the oil market is the biggest market in the world, it's massive, massive. Oil is everything. I won't go down that rabbit hole. But all the oil in the world was traded in dollars. What did that do? That created a lot more dollars. That created a lot of countries that had a lot of dollars. And they're like, what are we going to do with all these dollars we've got? And the United States said, hey, we have an idea for you. Why don't you loan them to us? The United States was able to borrow and finance, live beyond its means, because the world had all these dollars that they had to get rid of. They needed something to do with them. So the United States was basically financed by other people's money. The U.S. would spend more than they brought in, issue treasuries. Saudi Arabia would buy the treasuries. Same thing's gone on with China, with manufacturing and the dollar. But guys, this is changing because we had some earth-shattering news. And that is that China has officially now done several transactions where they have bought oil. They have something over there called the SHPGX, the Shanghai, let's see if I can get this right, the Shanghai, something gas exchange. Shanghai Petroleum and Gas Exchange, the SHPGX, where they are selling, thank you, Jim M. Thank you, my friend. They are selling now, you can trade oil for Chinese yuan directly. No more dollar. No more dollar. Okay, remember, let's go back in history. Remember how Kissinger went to Saudi Arabia in 1974 and said, this is what you're going to do or you're going to have big trouble. Well, guess who tried the same act? Joe Biden went there before the midterm elections to tell them, you need to stop pumping so much oil. And this is what, thank you, Kevin. Man, you guys are blowing me away. Cowbell. Oh, I forgot the cowbell. I'll do the cowbell. 1 second. I want to finish this point. Biden tried to do what Kissinger did. Thank you, Sorcerer Stan. Thank you, Kevin Hingle. Thank you, Jim M, for the super chats. Biden went over there to rattle the Saudis, right? You better behave, right? You better behave. You know what they did? They gave him a fist pump. Now, this is not a political show. I'm just telling you what transpired. And that's what transpired. Shortly thereafter, something else happened, and we're going to talk about that. Oh, I don't have to move. Here's the bell. Maybe when my daughters get to be teenagers and they're going to try to sneak out of the house, I'm going to make them wear these. Oh, that is loud. Biden went over. They blew him off. Okay. Chinese President Xi shows up 2 weeks later. Cavalry leads his plane down the runway. Fighter jets fly over. They gave him the royal welcome. Shortly thereafter, the Saudi Arabians. Thank you, Mike. Thank you. Shortly thereafter, the Saudi Arabians announced that they are now going to be selling oil for other currencies outside the U.S. dollar. This is earth-shattering news for the United States. China just announces they've purchased on their market there. What is that again? The I'm so bad with this. Hold on a second. The SHPGX. We need to memorize this, basement dwellers. This is a big deal. The Shanghai Petroleum and Gas. That's natural gas exchange. Okay. Whew. It's going to take a little practice. Anyway, that's a huge deal. What makes it, two things make it huger. Okay. They didn't just sell oil for yuan, okay, because that's right. They traded oil for yuan. No. On top of that, It was in their CBDC. It was in digital yuan. And it gets even crazier when you consider, and I was up in Toronto with some of the top analysts at the big banks 3 weeks ago, and one of them explained this to me, and this is so critical, guys. Not only can you buy and sell, okay, now oil, the Saudis, think about this, the Saudis, and we'll get off this subject soon, but it's critical for us. The Saudis sell oil. They get yuan. They get Chinese. The Chinese pay them with the Chinese currency. Okay. Now the Saudis can immediately convert that into gold on the Shanghai Gold Exchange, which is a physical market. Okay. It's not like the COMEX or the LBMA. Believe it or not, China has a metals market that's actually based on there being the metal that's being traded. So you can, through a two-step process, essentially right now in China, sell oil for gold. Now, do you think, have you heard, that's called the SGE, the Shanghai Gold Exchange, where they also sell silver, and where silver has been up to 13% higher per ounce recently, as opposed to the COMEX and the LBMA. But gold also is almost a full $100 more expensive on the Shanghai Gold Exchange. What does that tell us? Okay, right? The world is trading oil for gold, and they're valuing gold at $100 more per ounce. That's the litmus. That's the bottom line. And when we talk about all that, right, the petrodollar and all that crazy stuff, at the end of the day, do you know how much trouble that spells for the United States Treasury? Because as the world moves away from the dollar, just at the same time when the Treasury, when the United States is desperate for people to buy U.S. Treasuries. Remember, the next 3 months, we're going to sell $760 billion in Treasuries, and the following month, $800 billion, like we talked about earlier. Things are setting up on a macro level, right, that to be very, very extremely conducive for the price of silver and gold. If you want to get yourself some silver or gold right now, I want to say thank you to the show sponsor, Pimbex, Pimbex. Two brothers run the company, great guys. I worked with them before I took them on as a sponsor. I'd recommend, if you want to get some silver, gold, or platinum, throw them into the mix. Do your own research. Make sure, right? Make sure you're comfortable. But what I found is they're trustworthy and they have the best prices. Those are the two biggest things to me. Yes, they have selection. Yes, they've got silver, gold, platinum, and a variety of products. But check them out for yourself. I think if you do, next time you're looking to buy some bullion, you'll find, like I did, that Pimbex is best. All right, let's talk about, this is interesting geopolitically right now, Russia. We forgot about Russia. I'm hearing on mainstream media, so I guess it's okay to talk about this, but they're talking about, like, Ukraine lost the war, okay? Now, they're doing something that is going to infuriate Vladimir Putin. This is big geopolitical stuff. The EU is talking about taking the $200 billion that they seized from the Russians. $200 billion, that's a lot. That's 200,000 million, maybe? I don't know. That could be wrong. Anyway, they're going to take the $200 billion that they seized from the Russians and basically now give that to the Ukrainians. And the Russians are furious, absolutely furious. All this is happening at a time when Russia knows that the United States is in trouble, because we have another war that we're dealing with in the Middle East, right? Not a good situation. And we've got to look at how Saudi Arabia, it gets very, very confusing. I understand. I guess in a nutshell, what I can tell you is I dug into this. It's a messy, crazy, scary geopolitical situation in the world. And, people have talked about gold and silver benefiting from its safe haven asset status. I know that goes up and down, but I don't know. I can tell you that I don't think that's going away anytime soon. It doesn't seem like the world is moving into a ceasefire situation. I've heard recently the United States rejected a ceasefire. We don't want silver and gold to do well on the backs of any type of violence or any hurt. But I want to show you something that one of our great subscribers sent. We got a box yesterday, and there's some great stuff in it. Give me 1 second. Let me grab it. This came, yes, I now have a little bear puppet, right? Gold bear. And we'll get him going, right? He'll be over here with the big bear. Put him right here for now. But this is awesome. Now we have, I believe this is a black swan. So our friend Ann, we'll get this out when the black swans happen. Excuse me, my nose itch. And look at all these silver coins. I'm rich. Yes. Now, two of my favorite things. These are chocolate silver coins. Just for the record, I'm a big fan of sweets and chocolate. Thank you, Ann. Brought a big smile to my face and the entire family. We talked last night. Guys, let's talk about what do you think would happen? Let me just throw this out there for you. You know, we're not economists, but we're smarter than most economists. What do you think would happen? We talked about this last night, but we're going to talk about it again because it's so important. If 20% of the companies in the United States went bankrupt, what if just 10 or 15% went bankrupt? What would happen if 10 or 15 or 20% of American families went bankrupt? Because we got data that came from the Federal Reserve and the International Monetary Fund that indicates that right now in this country, in the United States, 10%, and we know the real number is much likely much higher, are zombie companies, meaning they have so much debt that the only way they can survive now is by taking on more debt. They're zombies. They're in a death spiral. 10%. We've had a record number of bankruptcies. What is this telling us? With the Fed, who's going to be more hawkish, we're already right now, that's the type of data that the Fed is looking at and has them shaking in their boots, okay? And remember, as all this plays out, the powers that be, the Fed, they aren't going to let the system implode. They should, right? They should have done that. Let's think about this. Back in 2007, 2008, they should have let the bankers had a rough go of things. They didn't, right? Everything gets escalated every time, right? We had the long-term capital management. Remember that? Then we had the dot-com bubble that burst, and they did a rescue for that. And then we had the 07, 08. They did a rescue for that. Then we had the repo cry. You know, we've had all these crises. They escalate, and they've created this giant bubble it's a giant poop bubble is what it is. All based on make-believe unicorn fart dust, money. I mean, it really is, right? I mean, and the world is calling the bluff. The world is saying, enough. I missed another super chat. Oh, my gosh. Chris, I will go back. CoinShop Chris just threw a virtual ding-dong at me that I missed another super chat. But it's all come to a big head. And is it just weird that at the same time they created this giant, it's a poop bubble. That's a new concept. That's as dirty as I get on this show. I'm not going to get it out. Susie locks me in the basement when I get out the fake poop that I have. Nonetheless, it's a giant, just make-believe, full of unicorn fart gas, poop, and now is it just me, or does it seem interesting that now at the same time all these big wars going on, everything is like coming to a head. Lynette Zhang, I talk about this at least once a week. Guys, it's okay if you feel a little crazy, like when you're trying to follow everything going on in the world, because it is a little crazy. And she brought up the point that, like, it feels crazy when we get near to the end, and it sure as heck feels like we're getting to that situation. Now, we're going to hear from our friend Jerome Powell this afternoon. Buckle up, Buttercup. That includes me. I've had my hands up. I've had my lunch handed to me on precious metal mining stocks. things will change, right? Jerome's going to talk this afternoon. That may not change today. We could be in for a rough ride this afternoon, okay? Although the bettors, let's remember, are saying there's a 0% chance of an interest rate hike. It's going to be very interesting how this all plays out, okay? Just remember, hang in there. Oh, I need to go check out. I missed a super chat. I'm sorry. I get a little carried away sometimes. Who did I miss? Mike Herrera is at this button. I don't know what you mean by that. Ding dong fund for Chris. I need to send Chris some ding dong money. Ron the Goat. Thank you, Jim M. Kevin Hingle. Cowbell. How's everybody doing today? Huh? Hey, let's play a game. What's the Fed gonna do today? I'm gonna say they're gonna stand. Are they gonna stand? Are they gonna raise? Or do you think they're gonna lower rates? Type it in. I said stand. What do you say? Lie. I don't understand what that means. Raise. Hey, D. Braun, thank you for the super chat. We got a raise. Ricky's House of Crap says raise. Good to see you, Ricky. Casey Jones raise. Jake says stand. Nigel says stick. Autumn says Mitchell. Autumn Mitchell says stand. Stand. Pause, says Dave. Tony Erickson. Ricky's House of Crap. Stand. Tony's a solid dude. Yes, stand. Stand. They will lie. That I get it now. I'm sorry, that one went right over my head. I used to have this guy. I remodeled a couple houses, believe it or not. Hopefully Susie's not watching because she's always wanting me to remodel the bathroom upstairs. But anyway, and he would help me with the plumbing, when I would remodel the bathrooms in these houses I had. And he was a funny guy, and he would always call me, when I would do something stupid, he'd say, "Good job, Albert." He called me Albert Eisenhower. Anyway, that went over my head when I asked what they were going to do, and you guys said lie. That makes sense. Yes, long round silver. Oh, man. Okay. Yes, 100 ounces is a good start. You can never have too much silver, Astolfo. If you get addicted like many of us are, what you find is you can never have too much silver. I'm not giving financial advice, right? And if you want gold, then you can never have too much gold either. If you want some gold in the ground, I need to say hello to our friends at First Mining Gold who sponsor the channel, make this possible. They've got 13 million ounces of gold in the ground in Canada, development stage projects. That means they're moving through the permitting process, okay, which can be a very exciting phase to go through as they hit more and more milestones. But they're also exploring for even more gold on those projects. So check them out. FFMGF is the stock symbol. You can talk to a real live human at the company. Paul Morris, Director of Investor Relations. His contact info is in the description of this and every video that I put out. Tony, I missed the super chat. Tony, Chris, text me again. Tell me what I missed because I can't see it and I'm screwing up here and people are going to get mad at me. You know what? Let's call CoinShop Chris. Chris, I'm going to call you if that's okay. Don't pick up if you don't want to talk to me. Let's say hi to CoinShop Chris, guys. What do you say? It's Wednesday. Isn't that what we do every Wednesday? Oh, no. My phone's not working. Shoot. Oh, wait. Maybe it will. Let's see. More technical problems. Nah, I don't want that. I think it's working. Okay, hold on. How do I do this? Okay. CoinShop Chris. Okay, where's the timer? Here's the 2-minute timer. You guys ready to hear from the one and only world famous CoinShop Chris? Let's see if he picks up.
How are you doing, Ron?
I'm doing good. How you doing, Chris?
I'm doing good. You just want to let everybody know we're sorry, Tony. We missed your super chat. We thank you.
I'm sorry, Tony. I missed your super chat. We thank you. So what else is going on, Chris? What do you think the Fed's going to do this afternoon?
They're going to pause.
They're going to pause?
They're not going to raise rates. They're not going to raise rates.
But did you hear there's a 3% chance they could lower rates?
That's not going to happen either, Ron.
If it does,
not going to happen.
If it does, I'll send you a whole case of ding-dongs. It's a 1 in 33 chance. That's like betting on zero on a roulette wheel. It does happen, Chris. Let's be optimistic.
Well, Ron, you would bet double zero if the wheel only has 1 0.
Okay, what else is going on? Any breaking news? Anything we need to communicate to the fellow basement dwellers this morning?
Yeah, I was going to do this on your next video, Ron. But this information, I'm into the graded coins now.
Yeah.
And I've downloaded the TGC app and the NGC app. So if anybody's really out there worried about graded coins, I've been getting a lot of deals on eBay. The NGC app will actually work on a computer screen. You can scan the barcode right from the computer screen, and it will tell you what the coin is worth right then and there. The PGCS app does not work that way, unfortunately. You have to punch in the code.
Okay, so people have graded coins and they want to see what they're worth. Go get the app and they can check it out.
They're both free to download. It's helping me out.
Okay.
I picked up a coin last night for $42.50. The coin's worth $85.
Wow. Yeah, I know you're the guru. And if anybody ever has any questions for Chris, email me and I can forward that to Chris. He's very helpful with everybody out there. Does anybody? I'm going to look at the chat. Does anybody have any questions or comments that you want me to address with Coin Shop Chris? Chris, anything you want to talk about?
No, there's really nothing more. I just want to get that. I'm trying to get. I'm learning more and more about the graded coins.
What about the zombie companies? What do you think about that? 10% of the U.S. companies are zombies.
Can you repeat that, Ron?
I said, what about the zombie companies? 10% of U.S. companies are considered zombies.
Well, it's probably true. Look, everything closing down, Ron.
Yeah.
Everything's, CVS is closing down stores. Walgreens is shutting down stores. Rite Aid just claimed bankruptcy a few weeks ago.
Yeah. I know
everything's in a big mess.
I know, and I know you were particularly distressed when Home Goods shut down or was talking about shutting down because you love Home Goods. I know some of your favorite stores, the Christmas Tree Shop, and some of those shut down. Our heart goes out to you, Chris.
No, but if you got one store, Ron, it was Bed and Bath.
Bed Bath and Beyond.
That was my really home store.
Yeah, I would try to call Chris, and he was always out at Bed Bath and Beyond. All right, buddy. Thanks for hopping on. Thanks for reminding me about the super chat. Let's remind everybody we got a big Black Friday giveaway. Don't forget, you can register for that. There's a link in the description of this video, which will explain to you the very simple process of how to register for the Black Friday giveaway. The plan is to be back tomorrow. Chris, thanks for joining us here for a few minutes. You want to say goodbye to everybody?
I just want to say thank you, everybody. Please check out Pinbacks. Thank you, Pinbacks. Check out First Mine Gold. And Ron and I both have donation links in the video description. I thank you for everybody's support.
Yep. Thanks, guys. We'll see you next time. Thanks, Chris.
See you. Bye-bye.